welcome to the It's a Sarah podcast. Today it is Monday, September 18, 2023, and this is episode 105. I'm coming to you from the Netherlands, so excuse my Dutchy English. I love to knit, I love to crochet, and I love to talk, so that's the perfect combination for making this podcast. I love talking about my knitting and crochet so much that I make episodes twice a week, and I make them in Dutch and in English, so be sure you pick the right one. Okay, let's go. Today I want to share my handwerk perikelen, my crafty adventures from this weekend with you. I have two things to share. I had a really crafty adventure with one of my works in progress, Ariana. I will tell you all about that in a minute. And yesterday I had a kind of knitting trip with some lovely ladies in the woods, and I will share all about that. And I also filmed quite a bit for you, so I think when you like that you will be happy at the end of the episode. But before I start, I want to share a little bit about what I'm wearing. When you watch my episodes, you have already seen this once, I guess, so I will try to keep it short. That's not one of my talents, but this is, what is it? I originally knitted it as a vest, but I wear it as a summer top too this summer. I didn't use a design, it is my own design. I was on the designer adventure a few years ago, but it was a very short adventure because I quite soon, how do you say it? I quite soon felt that it was not my adventure. I don't want to be a knitting designer, and it was worth the try, but it didn't work out for me. But what did work out for me was that I got the confidence to play with my knitting. I was a crocheter before I was a knitter, and with crochet I played. I made my own things without a pattern, and I was just trying and a little bit more adventurous, I guess. There's only one stitch on your crochet needle, so with knitting there are so many stitches on your knitting needle, and I think that was the main reason why I thought it would be too hard to do with knitting, because when you make a mistake, when you drop a stitch, when you are a beginner knitter, those things are really exciting and a bit scary. So I had a very strong thought, for knitting I need patterns. But I played and it was so much fun. I had a vest from the thrift store, which I really liked the fit of, and I just re-knitted it, and it was much more easy than I thought. Of course, it was very important that I did knit all the patterns, because all the techniques, the short rows, the increasing, decreasing, they really helped me by creating my own thing. I was really surprised by my own skills, because one of my very strong skills is that I'm a very good think things difficult thinker. I'm a very good make it complex thinker, so harder than it is in reality. So quite often in reality it's much more easy than I thought. This was nice to realize. It is not perfect. It is almost perfect. The only thing is really annoying is it's too high under my armholes, so it's too tight there. But I can't fix it afterwards. My yarn is I don't have any yarn left, and it's okay. It is the new version is totally in my head. I only have to knit it, because I also knitted this one bottom up, and I really want to do it top down. And I think I have all the knowledge right now, all the numbers, to make the perfect fitting little summer top or maybe vest on colder days for me. I only need some time. I also have the yarn, I have everything, only the time. Yeah. So it's no pattern, but I hope you get some inspiration or confidence to also do your own thing when you are a difficult thinker like me, like I am. Okay, my crafty adventure from this weekend. I had a busy weekend, so there was not a lot of knitting or crochet time, but Friday night we have movie night, and I'm not really a television watcher, a movie watcher. I always watch with half an eye, and when it's really not my kind of thing, I put on my headphone and I'm gonna watch my own kind of movies, knitting episodes. But I don't think, mainly our youngest girl, the oldest two children, they have their own plans in the weekend. Our youngest girl and my husband are watching, and I think it's more social to watch together. But I never ask what I like. When it's too... When the movies are too exciting or too, I don't like that. I just want happy endings and romance, and I'm a softie. So, but it was an exciting movie, but one I like too. So I was watching and I was working on my Ariana cardigan. No, not cardigan. On my Ariana sweater. If you watch my episodes regular, then you know that I'm working on my second version of an Ariana. The Ariana cardigan is a free pattern of Amy Christoffers. You can find it on Ravelry, and it's a cardigan made of granny squares and knitted ribbing. And it's really a combination of two of my favorites. So I really fell in love with that cardigan. I made it last year, and I wanted to make a second one this year from scrappy sock yarn scraps. But when I was making it, I thought, oh, how nice it would be to make a sweater of it. So I did. It is a sweater now. Because of that, I have to do a modification on the neckline, because there are no instructions for the neckline for a sweater, because the original pattern is for a cardigan. So Friday it was time to knit the neckline. I did pick up stitches. I think I already showed it in one of my episodes. Before I pick up the stitches, I like to crochet one round with single crochets. US, UK, I don't know. The smallest stitch, not the slip stitch, not a chain, but the next one, single crochet. And you can pick up stitches quite easily in that round. And I think it looks neater and it works pretty good. So that's what I did. I picked up one stitch in the middle, one front stitch, and I did knit a V-shaped neckline before with the decreases here on a pattern that didn't on which it wasn't meant to be. Last year I made a home camisole by Kadri, and you have a I-cord bind off. Now I-cord neckline, it's not a bind off. You pick up stitches, because that went wrong. I couldn't pick up the stitches as neat as I wanted to, and I got really frustrated. It didn't really work out, how much I tried, and at the end I decided I just make a knitted rib 2x2, and I used a tutorial from Bethany. I hope I say it right. Bethany from Well Loved Knits. She has a perfect tutorial for a V-shaped neckline, and that worked out pretty good. So I went back to that tutorial again. The only thing was I was watching it with half an eye, because one eye was on the movie and one eye was on there, and the sound was off, and it was on my phone, so it was small. But I had one stitch in the column, in the middle column here, and she in her tutorial she says she uses two stitches. She used two stitches. So I increased one stitch, so I also had a 2-stitch column in the middle. So a stitch marker before the 2-stitch column and after the 2-stitch column, and you have to decrease the 2 stitches before the stitch marker and after the stitch marker. I will place the link to the tutorial down below, of course. And also, before you start, you have to count back to your beginning of round. My beginning of round was at the back, in the middle. So you was sure you would end with 2 purl stitches before the middle stitch column. And it worked out pretty good, pretty fine, and it did go very smooth and very nice. So I knitted 10 rounds with the decreases here, and I was very satisfied because it was looking nice and it was working nice, and Sarah was happy. But when I finished all the rounds, when I thought my ribbing is long enough, I put on the sweater. And then I thought, oh no, I don't like the 2 stitches here. It was too wide. It was way too wide, and it wasn't feeling right. It didn't feel balanced with this yarn in this pattern. It had to be 1 stitch. So I ripped out everything. I didn't want to pick up the stitches again, so I ripped out every knitted round, and then very carefully put all the stitches back on my 2.25mm needles. I don't know how many stitches it were, but quite some. So, and again, I knitted the 10 rounds, but only with 1 stitch in the front. And that was looking better. It's still a bit, when I was filming my Dutch episode just before, I suddenly thought, should it be better with no stitch in the middle? Only 1 stitch marker and decreases in the front of in front of the stitch marker and after the stitch marker, because it is a bit stretched out in the middle. I will put it on. 1 moment. Okay, here we are. Before I talk further about the neckline, I want to say it isn't finished yet. I was fitting this sweater and suddenly I saw my husband looking, and he said, "Are you really going to wear such a short sweater?" I said, "No, of course not. It is cropped. It is meant to be cropped, but not so cropped. I will add quite some ribbing, at least such length, maybe longer, and then it will still be a cropped sweater, but not so cropped as this." So he calmed down. But the neckline, maybe you can see what I mean. In my Friday's episode, when I was editing, I saw that I was showing you things out of screen. So I'm sorry, it's just always a bit of a guess how to stand, but I think you can see it like this. It's a bit stretched out, and I don't know how blocking will work out, but yeah. Ooh, there I go. I thought maybe it would be better with no stitch in between, but I am not sure if I want to change it, and I'm quite sure you will understand when you have heard my story, which will start now. So the second try I did, it worked out better, and I decided to do a crochet bind off because that is my favorite bind off at the moment, and I picked my 4mm hook because that worked out pretty good with my sock cardigan, and I also think with the sleeve. I don't know which number I used, but the neckline, I didn't want it to be too stretchy, but I really love a neat neckline. When the bind off is a bit messy at the arms or at the bottom from your garment, I don't really mind, but at the neckline I really want a straight, neat neckline, a bind off. So I picked my 4mm hook and I did a crochet bind off, and I was happy because I love doing that. And then when I finished, I looked and I want to try it on, and then I realized my head will never fit in this round. It was way too tight. And I thought, that's weird. Okay, maybe I need a bigger crochet hook. So I frocked the bind off. I put all the stitches back on the needle, quite some, and it is, I am knitting with Retrosaria Mondim. It's a bit of a messy yarn ball at the moment, But it's a non-superwash 100% sock yarn. It's really a nice yarn to work with, and it's not slippery, so it went well. But it is black, and it was Friday night, so I have a very good lamp to shine on my work, and I really needed that. So I put back on all my stitches on the needle. And then I picked my favorite hook because of the color, not of the size. It's not my most used hook size, certainly not, but I really love the brown. It's a 6mm hook, and I again bound off the stitches, crochet bind off. It was a bit harder to put in those big, thick needle into the stitches because the difference was quite big, but I did the bind off. And again, my head was never going to gonna fit in that hole. It was, again, way too tight. So I thought, that's weird. So I thought maybe I need a knitted bind off. So I decided that I would use a 6mm needle. I have only one 6mm needle, a fixed circular one from Chagu, but my that knitting needle is busy knitting the sweater for my daughter. She is knitting it herself, so I'm very, very proud. I will absolutely show it. She's at the first sleeve at the moment, but she's using those needles. So luckily I also have those straight wooden needles, and they are perfect for bind off. I don't know, I think you can't see them, but I have them. They are actually quite decorative, mainly, but every now and then also useful. So I bound off the stitches with the knitting needle, and it was looking a bit messy, but still it was not not stretchy enough. It was still way too tight. Okay, I thought, and I didn't knit it all. I learned that I knitted half of the stitches, so I again ripped out the bind off, put it back on my knitting needle, and let me see, what was I thinking by then? Then I thought maybe I have too much, my ribbing is too wide. Maybe I need 5 rows of ribbing instead of 10, because then there's a little bit more space for my head. Maybe that will work out. So I ripped out 5 rounds, and it is a bit challenging. It is not very hard, but you really need patience. I don't have that a lot. You really need patience and focus and willpower to do that, to put all the stitches back. And especially at this point, it is really important. And because of the knit two togethers and the slip knits, they slipped away quite often. And I can fix it. I'm not afraid of that, but it takes some time. and all the rest, the willpower and the patience. But I frogged 5 rows, and I put it back on the needles. And then what did I do then? I don't know. I've done so much. I don't know exactly what I did. I think oh yeah, I remember. I thought, let me do an extra stretchy bind off. So a knitted bind off, but then with 1 extra yarn over between every stitch that you bind off. So I did that, but it was looking way too messy. So I had a little part, and I thought, no, I don't like that. That's too messy for my neckline. So I put those stitches back on my needle again, and I think maybe it was Saturday night already, because I worked Friday night and Saturday night on this neckline. I think it was Saturday. So then I thought, okay, but what you can do with the extra stretchy bind off with your knitting needles, maybe you can do it too with a crochet needle. So I picked my crochet 3mm needle again, and I thought I can do a yarn over in between every bound of stitch, as if you are knitting. Yeah, in Dutch we call it stokjes. You have 1 stitch when you make 1 extra one extra yarn over before, and you put your yarn to the first 2 loops and then to the last 2 loops. And it is called a double crochet or treble crochet, I think. So I thought maybe that will work, but it looked quite nice. It was stretchy, but it was not working nice. It was very unnatural, and I didn't want it. And again, it was quite stretchy. So I thought maybe the amount of 5 rounds was a little bit too small for my taste. I did consider a crochet edge for 1 minute, but I really, maybe a scalloped edge or just a straight crochet edge. But one of the things I like the most on this sweater, on this pattern, is the granny squares in combination with the ribbing. And I really wanted the ribbing on the arms and the bottom, and I wasn't sure if I was sure that I wouldn't like it when this was a crochet bind off. So with my newfound way, I thought then I can do it with 10 rounds. So I knitted the 5 rounds back and then I tried another way, which was working a little bit nicer, and that was the way. I bound off 1 stitch crochet wise, as I do all of the time the last few weeks. But after every crochet bind off stitch, I did 1 chain. So actually you're increasing a lot of stitches, but because of those 1 chains in between, there was more stretch. And it was looking a bit messy, but when I put it on, I could put it on. That was the most important thing. It fitted over my head. And when I put it on, because of the, it pulls down, and the messiness is a bit disappearing, I guess. So let me see. I don't know if you can see it, but it's not a very straight line, but it's it's stretchy, but it works out pretty good for me right now. I'm not sure if you can see it right. It's a bit scary to be so in front of the camera, so close. So I think I'm a happy person. The only thing is the stitch column. I'm not sure if I can accept it or if I am too curious how it would be without the stitch in between. We will see. I will first finish the rest, but it was a lot of work. I will put my sweater out so I can show you how stretchy it is from a little bit more close. 1 moment, please. Whew. It is a little bit warm in that sweater. It's really a nice and warm sweater. The weather is, it is still quite warm for the time of the year, but it is lovely grey outside. It was raining yesterday and this morning, and it is feeling a little bit more autumnally. So Sarah's happy, but it's still quite warm. But let me show you. I want to remove all my hairs before I do that. There's a lot of hair everywhere. Okay, I think you can see it looks a bit messy. I don't know how it will catch up on screen, but maybe when I hold it this way, you can see the crinkly. I have no idea how it's focusing. I try to watch a little bit in the mirror. No, you can see it. This way a bit, I guess. You can see it's not a straight edge, but a bit of a wobbly edge. It is hard to see in the dark yarn, and now I have to be sure it's focusing on me again. I can't check that. Oh, I think it's all right now. I didn't check that in my Dutch episode. I hope it will be fine. Oh. But it was quite a challenge to work the neckline, but after all, it did give me a very fulfilled feeling. It was very, it's very nice. I think it was very nice to my perfectionism skills could use very good, and it was very nice. I'm not, how do you say it in English? It was very nice to feel the power of a lot of willpower and self-discipline. I could throw this project away in a corner and never look at it again, but that wouldn't feel good. So I'm very proud. Every now and then I really like it when I can put my teeth in something. I don't know, that's a Dutch thing we say. Not literally, I would like to. But really dive in a problem and solve it. And that feels really good. I don't want to do that with everything because that would be exhausting. But every now and then doing that gives you so much power and confidence. You can fix it. You can make everything the way you want it to be. But you have to work on it. And don't give up too soon. And it's no problem if you give up sooner, if you are not me, but it's important that you do the things on the way that suits you the best, and that can be complete different ways than the ways that suits me the best, but that doesn't matter. It's important that you do you and I do I. But I was every now and then I was not doing me. I was not doing me. So, and now I did, and I'm very happy. So I will consider this point, but before I will do anything with it, I will finish the rest of the sweater, and I will crochet a little round under at the bottom of the sweater, and then I can pick up the stitches, and then it will be an easy peasy knitting again, because it's only knit to, purl to forever, maybe 50 rounds, and then I have to knit the border on the sleeve, and I think I thought about it before, but this sleeve is too short, but I don't want to I want to decide when the rest of the sweater is done, so I really can see how it will be, and if it's balanced, and then I will decide if I will do the shorter sleeves or the longer, and I'm quite sure that it will be the longer, but the rest has to be finished to be 100% sure. So, really nice, really fun. And yesterday evening I was so tired, and I was very happy with an easy peasy knitting, the novice sweater for my little niece. I told about it Friday, and that was not the right moment to dive in a hard thing on knitting. So for me it's very important that I also have easy peasy things that I can pick up whenever I need it. Okay, that was my biggest crafty adventure from this weekend at home. I had another crafty adventure. I had a knitting trip yesterday on Sunday. And I did film quite a bit for you. So if you like, you can watch it at the end of the episode. But before we will go to there, I want to share a little bit about it. One of my knitting friends, I've met her quite sometimes before, is Eveline. And Eveline is a Dutch knitter, but she's also a ranger. I think that's the word. A wood wader, I said last time, but a ranger, a forest ranger. That's her paid job. And she organized a hike. She organized a hike in her forest, the place where she works, for her knitting friends, and they were so enthusiastic, and she shared a little bit about it on her Instagram, and I will share her link down below if you like it. And there was a magazine who interviewed her, and she decided, I'm gonna organize this more often. So I think this was hike number 5, and I finally was able to take part, and it was very fun. It was not, it's in a different part of the country for me. We live in a very small country. But I live a bit in the south, and this was more near Amsterdam, a little bit above Amsterdam, quite near the sea. We didn't saw the sea, but there was a national park, and the national parks in the Netherlands, they are quite small because everything is small. So also the nature. And it's in a very busy part of the country. There are other parts in our country much more empty, but this is a busy part. But the national park is called Kennemer Duinland. Do I say it correct? You can see it in the outro. And I drove there by car, and it was supposed to be quite warm weather, 27 degrees, and I thought, oh no, I don't want that. But I planned a quite summery outfit with one of my Roomers vests, so I thought, okay, we can wear it again. Although it is already September. But when I wake up Sunday morning, there was a lot of rain and it was cold, and I was very happy. So I could put it on my Felix cardigan for the first time in months, and that was really very nice. And I drove to North Holland, to the place we should meet. And we would met, and it was very bad weather while I was driving. It was raining so hard, so I thought, I really loved the weather in the autumn, but this is maybe for a group hike, not the perfect weather. But when I arrived at the park, there were only a few drops of rain, and it was perfect. It was the perfect hiking weather. So we were with a nice group of ladies. There were some ladies I met before, and it was really nice to see them again. There were also some ladies I didn't know, but they were also lovely. It is when you share a passie, that's when you share your passion. In Dutch we say passie. When you share your passion, knitting or crafting, you feel connected quite soon. And we were on a beautiful place in nature, so we did a little walk to a beautiful barn. It was the ranger's barn, and Eveline had some coffee and tea and cook there for us. Cook? Do you say cook? Cookies? Some nice things to eat. And she told a little bit about her job and about the environment and everything. When we were walking, she was telling all about there was quite a heavy storm in the early summer, in the beginning of July, and it was quite weird because it was really a local storm. And where I live, we hardly had any wind. I don't remember, maybe a bit of a rainy, windy day, but where she lived and at this park, it was really heavy, and there were so many trees. They were all fall down, like there were lucifers. So, do you call it lucifers? Those little woods where you can make fire with. So it was really, I was really impressed by the force of nature, and also by the difference, because it's quite a small distance, but the weather can be so different on such a small distance. When we finished our coffee and tea, we did a big walk, and it was a lovely landscape, because it was so different than in my wood where I walk every day. It was I forgot to search. In the Netherlands, we have those sand hills between the beach and the land. We call them duinen. Dunes? Is it dunes in English? I don't know. But this landscape was a bit of a combination in which the woods flew over in the dunes, and it was really lovely to see, and really beautiful. So it was really nice, and I enjoyed it a lot. And when our hike was over, we came back in the barn, and we had a lovely lunch and some knitting time and chatting time. There were all those lovely ladies with wonderful knits, and I was very inspired. I didn't need that. I saw a sweater. Some of the ladies was knitting a sweater. And I already have seen it on Ravelry, because I think the pattern is quite popular at the moment. It is the field sweater, I think, from Camilla Camilla, I don't remember her last name. I saw it, I really immediately felt, oh, I like that one. But she knitted hers in a light gray one, and light gray is not my color. So I didn't click on the pattern page because I don't want to buy a pattern. So I thought, oh, it's light gray. Of course, I know you can make it in brown or green or whatever. But it was just enough to be aware of my good thoughts. Don't buy any new patterns. But now I saw this lady knitting the field sweater. Maybe I say it incorrect. I'm sorry for that. And in a lovely shade of moss green. And I fell in love immediately. We all did, I guess. And now I need such a sweater in my life. She told that Camilla, the designer, was also designing a cardigan pattern with the same pattern. And we shall see. Maybe for my birthday. My birthday's in November, so maybe I can treat myself by then. We shall see. I have yarn. I only have to buy the pattern. But that was my dragon. My dragon is fooling me. I'm very vulnerable. Yeah, I don't know if I hope you know which word I mean. So it was very lovely. And then when the time flew by and we walked back to the cars and we said goodbye to each other, and I drove home, and it was really, really busy on the way, and it took me quite some time, but it was all worth it because it was really a good day. So I filmed for you. It was also one of my dragons. If you have no idea what I mean with all those dragons, you can watch episodes from Friday 104, I guess. I explain it a little bit, but one of the things I want to slay my dragon. Thank you for that word. I say beat my dragon, but you told me that slaying is better. I didn't knew that word. I want to slay my dragon. I want to feel more comfortable with filming in the wild. I always film in my house, but I really like to share more of my outside world with you in this podcast. I know quite some people love to watch that, and I also love to watch that in other podcasts. But I don't like filming on the go because I really don't feel comfortable picking. I don't like it when I really love filming. Oh, someone's flying here. Go away, please. I really love to film when I'm alone, home alone, then it's absolutely okay. But when I'm among people, under the people, I want to be connected with the people and not with my phone. I'm not a person who's filming and photographing everything. Also not in my private life. My husband does. I don't like that. So I feel a bit uncomfortable to pick my phone and film everything. And also in the group, I didn't knew everybody, and you can see at my filming that I was excited because it goes whoop, 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 whoop. And I'm sorry if you get dizzy or maybe you feel your stomach when you are watching it. I'm sorry. I was just a bit nervous and excited, and I just want to do it quickly so I could put the thing away. I'm sorry for that. I did my best, but I also learned from my knitting and crocheting that I learn by doing it. I learn by trying. I learn by failing. So it will be better every time a little bit. So you have to be patient, and maybe over some time I can make those quiet, peaceful videos with other people around me. That's my goal. That's my goal. So I'm practicing. When you are not feeling well watching my filming, you just skip it. Yeah, so that was it for today. Do I have to share more? No, I don't think. I'm planning to stick my sock cardigan this week. I will try to film it. It's quite a busy week, so I hope I will find some time. I really want some focus and easy peasy time, quiet time, home alone time to do that, because I really want to do it neat. I want to film it for you so you can see how I do it. I sticked before, and sticking is not as exciting as I thought it would be. Again, So I'm not afraid of that, but I really want, I'm a bit afraid of my sewing machine, maybe that's, but I'm organizing something with the hinterland dresses for my Dutch creative friends with the lady who made my hinterland dresses. We will start with that this week. And I really want to become good friends with my sewing machine. And last Saturday, my daughter bought a jeans in the store, and it was a little bit too long, so I made it shorter for her, and it went very smooth and nice and easy. So I feel a little bit more confident right now about my sewing skills. Okay. I wish you a very nice week with hopefully a lot of crafting time, knitting time, crochet time, whatever time, and heart jumping moments. And thank you for watching. Bye bye. Bye.